What's going on, Detroit Lions fans? Welcome back, Detroit Den 313. There's some interesting things about this particular podcast. All right. I feel like on this channel, we do things that I don't really notice on other channels, and I don't really pay attention to what other podcasters are doing for the sake of content. But when I used to watch, man, I just feel like this channel, you get everything. All right. You get film breakdown, video clips, draft analysis, player analysis. Man, we do it all. If this is your cup of tea, you know what to do, man. Today's topic, I wanted to talk about this yesterday, but the Jamison Williams incident, news, whatever we want to call it, I felt like that took precedence. But I wanted to talk about a roster moves that I feel like are very, very interesting for the longevity of the rest of the season, with the Lions activating Christian Mahogany and Broadrick Martin returning to practice. Now, the big one there, and I do mean big, is Broadrick Martin, okay? With our defensive line being torn apart by injuries, the injury bug just biting this defensive line harder than any other unit on this team. I think that this has got to be something worth talking about. And I don't get on here and I don't talk about news all the time. Okay. I talk about news from the Lions that interest me. I don't talk about every single little thing. I'm not a news channel. All right. I don't want this podcast to turn into Channel 7 News where we're just talking about that all the time. But with the injuries and Broadrick Martin being one of the largest men I've ever seen on a football field and playing a position of need, in a way, a pass rusher of sorts, how he's going to be able to help this team. And he's probably one of the guys that we've talked about the most this whole preseason training camp. How good he looked. He looked phenomenal in preseason games, right? We saw that dominant push. We saw some better pad level. We saw some better leverage. We saw him getting lower than offensive linemen and not getting blown off the ball. Whether or not that's how big of an impact Terrell Williams has had on him, I don't know. But when it comes to Broadrick Martin, this is a guy we got to get in the mix. And I'm not saying that his snap count's going to be super high right off the rip, but I said at the beginning of the year, and I'm not going to retreat on my statement, that I need to see him in games. I need to see him playing real football, not just putting pads on, not just being on the sidelines in hoodies on game day. I need to see him get some reps. Okay. And what better time? What better time than right now when everyone on this defensive line is hurt? Okay. I'm not saying he's going to go out and have even 30 snaps. We're probably going to be looking at something like when he's ready, something along like maybe 10 to 15 plays to get his feet wet. Let's just see. All right, you'll notice when he comes out on the field, this guy's built like a Mack truck, and he even transformed his body this past summer to get in better football shape. So he looked phenomenal. Have not seen an updated picture of him in quite a bit, but even if he's anything close to what he was looking like in the summer, a little bit leaner, a little bit meaner, I'm excited to see it. Okay. He's going to be in that role where he just kind of get some snaps, get into the rotation somewhere. This is a golden opportunity. I've been using that term quite a bit, man. I'm waiting for someone on this defensive line to step up and show that they can generate a pass rush. Why not get a kid who's as big as Broadrick Martin? I don't know, have his height and weight off the top of my head, but he's got to be 6'6", 300 plus pounds. I mean, golden opportunity here. Okay. I'd like to see him in Mekhi Wingo. I've talked about him quite a bit recently. You guys, you're young players. Wingo's a rookie. Martin, you're coming into year 2 of this project status. And I get it. I don't have a lot of expectations. I'm not going to be very critical of your game. I just want to see you get on the field, man. I think he can help pretty much any living corpse that's big enough to put pads on and push around an offensive lineman is what we need right now, because Brad Holmes hasn't made a trade yet. I see a lot of people getting impatient. Guys, I know how bad we need a trade, okay? But Brad Holmes looks at this team a lot differently. He looks at it and sees, I lost Aiden Hutchinson. I kind of 3-0 if you want to count the second half of that Dallas game when we lost them. So I have 2.5 wins, I guess, technically, since we lost Aiden Hutchinson, man. The injury bug's piling up. I'm not going to keep beating that up, but this is just such a great chance for these younger guys, these players that a lot of people haven't heard of, to come in, get some reps, take over, show them why we drafted you. Now is the time. Okay. And when it comes to Christian Mahogany, let's skip, kind of done with the Broadrick Martin talk. Christian Mahogany, one of the most interesting draft picks this past season. Okay. I thought that this guy was a third round talent. We got him a little later. When he was drafted, there was some reports coming out that I can't remember the exact terminology, so I'm trying to be careful. So if you guys can remember it, please help me out. Leave it in the comments. Brad saw something in his evaluation interview process that made him a little weary, but not off of the draft board type stuff. Okay. And then kind of sits him on the shelf for a little bit, gives him he catches mono or something, I think. And I'm not very familiar with mono or exactly what that does to the body. Never had it, and I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to pretend. But I love this draft pick. I loved his style of play. He gets called dirtbag for a reason. That's a term of endearment, not a term of disrespect. Coming into training camp, he was another guy we were talking a lot about, like who's going to take over. We know what our starting five on the offensive line was going to be. Where was Christian Mahogany going to fall into that next man up if something were to happen? Obviously, we kind of saw that when Zeitlin went down and Awosika had to step in. Mahogany wasn't available due to him being on the IR. But now that he's activated, I'm looking to see if we fall into that scenario again where either one of our guards or Frank Ragnow has to take another game off. What's that going to look like? Is it going to be Awosika? Because I didn't like his game in the first quarter of the Vikings game, but I thought he settled in very nicely. Is Mahogany someone that we could shift into that role? I know Dan Skipper also kind of locks down that jumbo package, extra tackle. We all know about that, tackle eligible. Here's the thing about Mahogany. If you watch his college tape, they used him in a variety of ways. They used him at fullback, and this really got me thinking. If we get down onto like the 1 yard line, Ben Johnson's a psychopath. All right, he says that his well is deep, man. He's got a lot of bags and a lot of tricks in his bag. Is that something we could see? I wouldn't personally bet on it, but maybe we bring in Mahogany at the fullback position, do a little fullback dive. I wouldn't put it past Ben Johnson, okay? And nothing's out of the question here. So these are two players that we haven't seen a lot of. There's not a lot of tape that we can dissect at the professional level to really dissect how they're playing or what's going on right now. This episode is all speculation and kind of to get you guys refamiliar with these names if you haven't heard them in a while, because they haven't played, okay? And especially Broadrick Martin. I think he's just he's probably the one who's going to make the bigger of the impact out of the two, because I have no idea where Christian Mahogany is. Haven't seen him on an NFL field. So I think Broadrick Martin's a name to keep an eye on, guys. Is he going to play some D tackle? Is he going to open up some stuff for the pass rush? Can he take those two guards and push them straight back? I'd like to see him and DJ Reader. Guys, I'm excited about this news. Okay, we need all the help we can get. Anytime we're beefing up the trenches, that's a Detroit Lions strong suit. Maybe not so much on the defensive front anymore, but offensive line, strength of the team. We'll see what Mahogany ends up doing, what his role is going to be, but keep an eye out for Broadrick Martin. I'm excited to see what his role is going to be on this team. Stick around, hit that like button. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll be back later with another show.